I own a recording studio, and my friend Steve here just started recording a couple months ago, and today we're going to show you how to get started recording some of your own music and answer some common questions. Hi, welcome to the Geeztown Perspective. My name is Aaron Geezy. I'm a singer, songwriter, producer, and this is where I share my perspective. Today we're doing something a little bit different. I'm here with my friend Steve. He just started recording some of his own music over the last couple of months, and we're going to walk you through some of his process getting started, and hopefully that'll help you guys too. But Steve, so what made you want to start recording some of your own music?
Yeah, I've been playing guitar for quite a while. I've tried doing some songwriting in the past without much success. More recently, I'd been coming up with some song ideas that I thought were a lot more valid and really somehow needed to get in the recording medium, but I just wasn't quite sure how to do that.
So, I mean, you've taken the approach of recording it yourself. Do you still think there's a time when you should go to like a professional studio or hire a professional to work with, or what do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. I've recorded quite a few songs, but I really consider them all to be demos. And in a sense, everything you hear is a placeholder for what a real band would do, with me still singing. But I mostly wanted to just get the ideas in sonic form so I could see them. I also looked at this when I found out that it was something that I could do myself as a creative tool. And so that was kind of my approach.
Yeah, that's really cool. I agree with that a lot. I mean, some people may think, you're a producer, you got a recording studio. Why are you telling people to record their own music? Aren't you just, shooting yourself in the foot, losing customers? But in reality, to get something that's really professional sounding, it's a process, and recording that first rough demo is the first step in that process. And the more people are able to do that on their own and just experiment and mess around with that stuff, I feel like that gets them better prepared, when they're ready to go into the professional recording studio or whatever. But that's just my take on it. And
well, I would agree with that, because I think really having done the demos, I feel a lot more confident about going into the studio, maybe spending some money to do something, because I've got a much better idea of how it would turn out. I think initially when I had some of the song ideas, I was sort of nervous about whether it would work or not, and how much is this going to cost me? Will it be a total waste of money? But to be able to do the demo takes myself and kind of work on the stuff and get it up to a level where I've got a record of the song idea. I think really helps everybody in the situation.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of people, it's like they kind of have that fear of being on the clock, and kind of makes you afraid to try new ideas or things. But if you can kind of experiment with that on your own, then you know what you want to do, it's going to work, and working with that professional is just going to be able to take it to that next level. So
I agree.
So how did you actually get started? Like, what were some of your first steps in getting going on recording some of your own music?
Well, once I had this set up, of course, I had to learn, how to use the software. Maybe back to some of your questions about my background. I've been a guitar player for many years. I also had a career in graphic design and was used to using some fairly complicated software. There was still a learning curve to, learning the recording software, but I was pretty confident that I could do it based on my experience level with computers and with software.
So, I guess more specifically, what software did you decide to go with? About how much did it cost? What made you choose that package or whatever? And yeah,
I ended up with a PreSonus audio box. It has 2 inputs, which is enough for me. I'm able to plug in a guitar and a mic. It came with the Studio One software free, so for about $100, I was pretty much set up, which is like totally amazing to me. And that was once I learned how to use the software. I mean, I was able to produce a couple albums worth of material on it, in a fairly short amount of time. So I really took to it like a fish to water.
Also, specifically about using Persona Studio One, tell us about some of the effects and the guitar tones and things like that you like using in there.
Yeah, that's a neat thing. I really like the even just the direct tone when you plug in the guitar sounds just really great going straight in, which is good for the recording part of it. But then you can go back and add effects like amplifiers, where you can pick which kind of amp you want and adjust all the knobs. It's very user friendly. It just, pretty much like running a real guitar amplifier, but you just use a mouse to adjust all the buttons, and you can pick which speaker combinations you want and try different things until you get it to sound the way you want. You can add stomp boxes, various things like you'd have on a pedal board. For vocals and things, you're able to add effects like reverb and delay, and which is really amazing. How that sounds. They're also for the drums. There's programming in there that I use to create the drum parts. I felt that worked better than just playing over a click track.
So you spent $100 on some software. You didn't buy 15 guitar amps and microphones and all this stuff. You spent $100 on some software, and you're able to go in there and you've got just all kinds of, you want a Fender sounding amp or a Marshall sounding amp or a PV sounding amp. You got options. You want drum sounds, there's drum sounds. You want some effects in your vocals, there's effects in your vocals. I mean, if you can imagine, back in the day, the Beatles, all right, they had 4 tracks. They didn't have any of this, all right? And, okay, people spent more money just on the tape to record than they spent on the whole, software and everything that you get now. So it's just ridiculous. But
yeah, I'll agree.
And there's other options. I mean, Steve used Studio One. I have Studio One. I use that sometimes. I also use Logic if you're a Mac user. I mean, Pro Tools, some people use that. Reaper is a free, totally free version. I like the package that Steve got is nice because he got an interface and the software free, together for $100. I think that's a good deal. Yeah, there's great options out there. We can't cover everything in this video, but just research some stuff. Just check out Studio One. It's great. Works great. Got great stuff that comes with it. So, next question. What was the learning curve like for you as far as learning how to do this and learning how to use the software? And if you came across, if you got stuck on something, how would you get past that? How would you find the answer?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, there's definitely a learning curve, and I think what I found out was first kind of trying to get the first song accomplished. I would sort of have to get over each hurdle as I encountered it. The software in general was very user-friendly, but I would just run into things that I didn't know how to do, and then I would either contact you or check there was online resources to answer questions, and then each time I just had to remember how I got over each hurdle, and then once I was used to doing that, then the process was easier to do. Once I got the first song recorded, then it was just like the floodgates opened, and I just knew how to do it, and I would just fly through it. Seems like I always get held up on the when I do the drum programming, just getting the mouse to select the things. I just seem to always kind of fuss around with that, but I always figure it out. But I haven't got any direct way to do that. I just click around until something happens. Although I think recently I just finally figured out that if I kind of select the whole kind of piano roll area, that somehow then when I click in it, then it works. I think maybe that's how I ended up doing it. But
I mean, there is a learning curve. I mean, obviously, anything anything that you do that's new, you're gonna have to learn how to do it some way, shape, or form. But there's a lot of people doing this, which means there's a big community. You go on YouTube, there's people that have answers. There's forums. There's people you can ask questions to. So it's something that's definitely doable. Yeah, it does take a little bit of time to learn it, but once you get going, then it's just you're ready to go. You're pumping out songs. You're not thinking about it too much. And
oh yeah, I mean, in my experience, between Halloween and New Year's Day, I wrote and recorded 16 songs. I mean, that's at a rate of 2 a week, and when you're working a job, I mean, that was in my spare time, so. I mean, once I got into it, I really loved it. And at the point I had 16 songs, I needed to kind of stop and go, wait a minute, I think I've got something here. I need to stop and think about where this is going.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing what you can accomplish with that. I mean, it's such a great creative tool. So, Steve, how has being able to record your own music affected your creativity and your creative process?
Oh, that's a great question. One of the things that I found very interesting was that the first song that I recorded, I had a bit of a sense of what it would sound like as a finished song and sort of approached it that way. But when I got to the second song, something happened, and that seemed to carry through the rest of them, was that the songs sort of took on a life of themselves, and I was using the software as a creative tool. I would have a song in mind, I would have an idea, and I would have the lyrics laid out in some musical direction, but I would program the drums, and then I would lay in a beginning guitar part, and then I would listen to that and try to play something over the top of it and add another guitar part, and then I would just keep adding parts, and each part that I added gave me more ideas of things that I could do, and there's no way to do that when you're just playing a guitar by yourself. I mean, it's a way to really layer these things in here. And of course, you have the option of doing things like you need 16 bars of like a rhythm guitar part, and so you play maybe 8 bars or something. Go back and pick the best 4, and you can duplicate them, your best 4, and that gives you pieces that you can copy and paste and put on top of one another. You also have the opportunity for editing things together and copying and pasting around and moving. And for dynamic sake, when you're overlaying a lot of parts, you can kind of bring them in one at a time or fade them out to bring the dynamics up and down. So it's just a really great arranging tool as well. So
yeah, I think that really kind of sums up what I was saying earlier too, as far as, I mean, you don't need to be a professional producer, engineer. You don't need to have a huge studio to just be able to go in and experiment with sounds and mess around with some of this stuff. And a lot of times, guys like you that are just getting started out, you haven't developed any bad habits, and you kind of have an unconventional approach to recording, and they're happy accidents that happen in that all the time. I mean, I've got people that I work with, and it's like they show me a demo, and I hear something like, how did you do that? And there's no way to recreate it. It just somehow happened, and it ends up making the final cut of the song because there's just no way to recreate that happy accident. So
yeah, I had a lot of those kind of experiences where, I had one that was kind of crazy. I was trying to monitor some of the amp sounds and distortion and stuff, and I kept turning it up and turning it up and turning it up. I couldn't hear it. So I just went through and recorded it anyway, and then I went back and hit play, and it just about blew my head off. Turned out that the things weren't monitoring as I was playing, but they were there. And then so I turned the level way down and listened to it, and it was just this crazy distorted, just wild thing. But I decided I liked it, so I kept it. I just brought the levels down, and so that was kind of a happy accident.
Steve, tell us a little bit about your music. We're gonna have some links in the description here if you guys want to check out some of Steve's music, but tell people about it a little bit real quick.
Yeah, that's great. I've got a SoundCloud page, and please click on the link down below. When you get there, the project name is Motorist Sketchbook. The idea there is that most of these songs came from, I do delivery driving for a job, and most of the songs came from things that I would see or think about when I was out driving, and so that's where the theme came from. And what you'll find there is there's 2 albums of material and 3 demo tracks. If you just select all, there's a demo track at the top that has 3 songs. It's a demo track, or demo reel it's called, demo reel number 1, and you'll find 3 tracks on there, and if you want to hear more, there's plenty more there.
Yeah, and real quick, 2 songs that I just, they seem like they always get stuck in my head a little bit when I hear them. To the End of the World and Smoke Out the Window. I feel like those 2 songs for me are just really cool. I think the lyrics are really interesting. I think Steve's got a lot of really, really great lyrics about just kind of everyday things that, the people don't always think about. But guys, check out that stuff. I think you'll enjoy it. So in conclusion, guys, we live in a time where it's never been more affordable or accessible to record your own music, when the information and education that you need to take advantage of it has never been more free and accessible. And there still may be some struggles, some problems with being a musician, a songwriter, but being able to record your music shouldn't be one of them. If this is your first time watching my channel, also make sure you check out my music video for my song Miracle. Other than that, give this video a like, subscribe, leave a comment if you have any other questions or things that we might have missed that you want to know about. And other than that, we'll see you later.